Hey guys, welcome to Let's Talk Money. I am Money T.
And I am simply C.
There. Anyway, so you guys, we have pivoted from our previous radio show due to circumstances, unforeseen. So now
Mm-hmm.
we have moved right on over to YouTube, and we're going to need our followers, our peeps, you guys, to make sure you share the videos, like them, comment, hit the bell notification so that you'll know when we come on. We will be on every Monday still at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. On this channel, you will also find, some of our previous recordings from when we were on BSB Radio.
Yep.
Anything you want to add to that, Simply?
It is not.
Okay. So today we have a fabulous guest I am so excited about because I am, as you know, all about that teaching financial literacies. And this lady is going to teach us how to catch our kids when they're young.
Yeah, well, let me introduce Jamie. Jamie Bosse is a certified financial planner. She's an author and she's a mom. Since 2004, Jamie has provided financial guidance and education to a diverse clientele of individuals and families in her role as a certified financial planner. So she's written some awesome books. We cannot wait to share them with you. Jamie, welcome to the show.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me.
So glad you decided to come on with us today.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm excited to be here.
So, well,
Let's,
I'm just going to,
yeah.
if you don't mind, I just want to start off with showing the book. And honestly, I went straight to the final chapter. I'm just going to be honest. I did.
But
That's okay.
wasn't this like one of your first books, Jamie?
Yeah, that was the first one. That's the first kid one. And then I have one more Milton book. Yep, there it is.
I've been reading it to my grandson. He's 5.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then when he saw, it's funny because when he saw save, spend, and give, he knew that Simply See, we were doing a prompt, and she put it on some jars, and he said, I know that. Save, give.
Awesome. Gotta teach them young,
Yes. So what I really loved about it, if I could just start off by saying, I don't know how you broke it down into different ages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for their kids' books.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, with kids, they're so different. Every 6 months, I feel like they are changing. So when you're talking about money with kids, it is different depending on how old they are.
Yeah.
So the cool thing, though, is that you can start to talk money with kids as young as age 3.
Yeah. So let's just start going down the road here. Tell us, I want to know first how you started specializing in kids, and then let's talk about why it's so hard to teach kids about money.
Sure. So I have 4 children, all under the age of 8. So teaching kids about money is near and dear to my heart. It first came up when my youngest son, I went shopping with him, and he was 5 at the time, so he wanted to buy everything,
Of
and
course.
he was really set on this like $60 remote controlled monster truck thing. And I was like, well, that's not in our spending plan for today, so we're not going to buy that. And he's like, why don't you just buy it on Amazon then? And so I realized that he has no grasp of money and how it works. And, kids, they just see their mom and dad like punching stuff in their phone, and then magical things just appear on the doorstep. And that's how you get things, right? So at the store that day with my son, I was like, okay, I'm a failure. My kid has no idea about money. so that kind of spurred the conversation of Milton, the money savvy pup. Milton was our real dog at the time. There's a picture of him behind me, actually.
Oh, cute.
And so I wanted to use him as kind of a character to talk to the kids about money to make it fun.
Right.
So that's where it all started.
Yeah, I think it is important with kids, like you have to make it fun,
Hmm.
in
Right.
order for them to grasp it and want to do it.
Yeah,
And even
for
to hold
sure.
their attention.
Yeah, yeah, and then money too, nowadays, it's so intangible, right? Like when we were kids, we had money in our pocket or we didn't, and that
Right.
determined if we could buy something or not. But now money's invisible, right? You have PayPal, Venmo, credit cards. Like kids don't understand that
Right.
something's happening, that a
And-
financial transaction's taking place because they can't, see it and hold it and feel it.
Or they're like, just use your card. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
where's
just
your
just
card?
flag that thing. That gets stuff done.
So Jamie, you've said in your book that money conversations can start as age 3, as early as age 3. What kind of concepts do you talk about with kids at that age?
Sure, yeah. So kind of in that 3 to 5 range, you can start talking real basic stuff. You can that you need money to buy things. That money is earned by working.
Hmm.
And you can start talking about delayed gratification, right? So sometimes we want to buy something, but we might have to wait and save to be able to get that thing. So super basic things. But you can use, different examples like, we need to buy shoes, but here are some options. We have these expensive shoes, or we can buy these shoes. Um, you can talk about how you earn money at your job, with your child to just get some conversations going. You can identify coins and their value and start
Hmm.
talking about just, things that cost money and things that don't cost money. So, you can talk about every time we go out to eat, that costs money. Toys cost money, but there's also a lot of things that have value that are free. You can play with your friend, your cousin, you can go around the block, things like that.
Creating those memories, those are really valuable. And you said something that made me think of a question. So I know when you said we can buy shoes, we could buy these shoes or these shoes. So if the budget is $50 for shoes, let me just throw that out there. Do you say you can buy this one pair of $50 shoes, or you can get these two for the same? So do you trade off that type of thing and give them that type of experience and choices is what I'm getting to.
Yeah, exactly. And when you give the child the power to choose, that then gives them some autonomy and that makes them feel like they're in charge, right? So if give them that ability, that helps empower them in that situation.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
I have an 8-year-old that I've taken, well, an 8-year-old granddaughter, let me say that, that I have taken to, like, she'll want to go into Five Below, right? And this little girl, she understands. She's like, okay, well, if I have $5, then let me see. And she'll walk up and down the aisle. Well, that's three. Well, I can get this one thing, or so
Yep.
she's understanding that whole concept, and she really thinks about it and tries to spend this money wisely. So yes, it works, and you can
Yeah.
start them off young.
Yeah, and it's funny when they're little too, though. I mean, they want to just buy everything, right? So my 6-year-old just is like itching to spend his money all the time, and my 8-year-old is more like your granddaughter, how, he just thinks about it more, and he's like, okay, well, I could spend this, or I could wait and get something better. So,
So yeah, that's great. I also like in your book when you talked about from the ages of 3 to 5 how to like have them do chores, little things,
mhm,
and then to pay them when they're done to keep them excited and motivated.
mhm.
I also like the thought to keep the money in a clear jar so they can see it.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. The clear containers, we started with piggy banks at my house, and they always dumped them out because they couldn't see the money in there anymore. So they were like, it's gone. I gotta see it. So clear jars really help, create some excitement around it because you can see it kind of piling up in there too,
Hmm.
which makes it really fun.
So in that at that age between 3 and 5, would you have them do the save and spend? Would you have them separated that early in the age or not?
Not yet. Yeah, the 3 and 5 range, you're really just trying to get some basic things down, right? So the basic concept of money, that we need it, for commerce and to buy things and to make our lives work. And then just kind of introducing that concept of working for money, right? So doing those chores and getting paid. Yeah, but really not trying to save anything or trying to give to charity at that point, because their attention span's like 4 seconds long.
Yes, it is.
So yeah, but when you get to the 6 to 10 range, things really start to happen, right? So, at that age, you can talk more about the comparing prices, and they can think about it more, like, okay, do I want to spend this money on this, or have more money so I can buy this bigger thing later, or buy more things that are less expensive. So kind of shopping around, comparing prices, those sort of things.
Mm-hmm.
And you can even talk about, the concept of a savings account at that age, which is kind of a step up, right? So that is something they can't really see either, but you could like go to the bank, open the account, put the money in, kind of make it fun that way. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I was going to say that will make it fun because we don't typically go into the banks anymore. You know, we do most of our banking on our phones. So just having that experience, I think being intentional about that experience is definitely something that we would have to do, as far as making that, getting that experience with those kids.
And it's memorable too, because I remember going into the bank when I was a kid. My mom, I had to register, and she took us. I had a savings account, and she took us to the bank. And so it is something that you remember, and
yeah,
it's instilled in you when it's done that early,
Yeah.
I
yeah.
believe.
No, that's great. Yeah, and when they're 6 to 10, they can start saving more too. So that's when we kind of introduce those jars of, get one for giving, one for saving, one for spending. And then the key is that kind of savings bucket really isn't like for a long-term thing. It's more just like buying a toy or an item that costs more than their like weekly paycheck. So you're just trying to get them in the habit of, I don't have to spend this all right now. Like I
Yes.
can save up for something bigger.
Yeah.
And then starting to introduce that, charitable concept that, money can be used to support your community and those who need help
Yes.
too.
Yeah.
So, having them pick some of their money to put in the offering plate at church, or give to a charity that they appreciate. So
That's
Yeah. It's funny you talk about not saving for something big. My granddaughter has this cup that we have money in that we were saving, and I needed change for something one day. Well, I poured it out. I got some change out, and I left it on the bed accidentally. So she goes in the room and, Mom, did you spend my money? You know I'm saving for a car.
oh man.
I said, girl, you got time. You got a little bit of time. I didn't take it out. I just got some change out of there, whatever. But it was so funny to me that she was like, I'm saving for a car.
Hey, she's got big
Funny.
dreams. I love it.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So
so
we
you were
talked about,
saying
oh, go
you were
ahead.
saying at that time from 6 to 10, that's when they start getting the weekly allowance? Is that the
Yes.
age group?
Yeah, so if you're paying for chores or allowance for a learning tool, you can pay each week, and you should do it in cash. Like make it kind of a big deal. That way they can see it and feel it and do it. When for that younger age group, the 3 to 5s, you have to pay them like right after they do the chore, so then they can
Mm,
associate like I did this work and that equals money. But in the 6 to 10 range, they're a little bit more mature and can understand that like I do these chores all week and then on Sunday I get paid.
Hmm. And I like that, because really in life it's not like you do something and then it's instant gratification, so
mm-hmm.
I like that delayed, working up to that delayed gratification, so I
Absolutely.
like that. Another thing I really like too is where you said, I guess Dave Ramsey didn't like the word allowance.
Mhm.
I like commission. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. So for the audience, Dave Ramsey him and his daughter wrote a book together about teaching kids about money,
Mm-hmm.
and he has some really good references in there, and talks about how he doesn't believe in allowance because it sounds like welfare. So he teaches them to work on commission. So like you work, you earn a commission. You work, you earn a commission. So I thought that was pretty fun.
That's good.
I
Good
liked
stuff.
it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the 11 to 13 age group.
Okay. Yeah, 11 to 13, you can just get more specific with the saving, right? So saving at least a dime for every dollar that you earn. And then the savings account is really impactful at that age, to actually have an account and have something that you're putting money into, each week or each month, things like that. You can start to talk about credit cards, because a lot of times, they see you using cards, credit or
Right.
debit, and they
Yeah.
don't really understand what's happening. So explaining what's happening, explaining that you're still paying for that. And then if you're doing it on a credit card, that it really is, a loan. So you're borrowing the money and then you pay it back. And if you don't, then the interest
Mhm.
works against you and will start to build up, and you'll end up paying more for the item than it actually costs.
Right.
Mhm. And you'll want to cry later.
And you'll want to cry later. Exactly.
And then we go on to like the 14 and 18. This is where things really get serious, right? Because we are really preparing them to be adults and responsible.
Yeah, so 14 to 18, you want to give them some autonomy, right? So you want them to be able to make financial decisions and understand, the consequences of those. So by then you want them to have actually made some silly purchases and regretted them, so they learned from them. So they're doing this while it's under your roof and they're not in big trouble. But you can talk about um, credit cards some more, because by then they're going to be getting closer to be able to get their own credit card, and they can do
Mm-hmm.
it like, without you knowing about it by the time they're 18. So that's scary. And then you can talk about college costs, starting that conversation. Talk about
Yeah.
taxes, that when you work for someone else, taxes come out, and so you're not actually getting the amount that you think you might be getting. So having them understand those concepts before they leave the house is key. And in this age group, you can actually, instead of doing like a weekly payday, you can actually start putting money in their bank account, for the month, and letting them decide, like, okay, we're going to put your money in for your entertainment, clothing purchases, whatever it is that you want them to be responsible for.
Mm-hmm.
You can deposit that amount in their bank account and then let them figure it out for the month. So if they spend it all in the first
That's
weekend, the
good.
shopping trip and the movies, and they can't go and do anything else the next 3 Saturdays, then they've learned the lesson that money is finite, and I need to learn how to manage this better. So that way, when they get out of your house, if when they go to college or move out, that they have already had some experience with, like, managing some money on their own, and I have this amount to work with. How am I going to allocate it?
Jamie, how do you feel about adding like kids to your credit card so that they, as an, what is the user called? Where you add them on so that
As an
authorized users.
authorized user, yeah. I
Authorized
was
user.
gonna ask that same question.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, you want them to be kind of in the older range, right? So hopefully you've already had a lot of conversations about credit cards and how they work, about expenses, and they have some idea of what, things cost for them. Because what you don't want to happen is for you to then get in trouble when they go shop, and then you don't realize it until a month later, and you're like, what happened here? So as long as you have the conversations up front, and everybody's on board, and you've agreed on what purchases are okay to do on there.
Yeah.
Uh, and I'd have them involved in the paying process too. Like, so if they've been using the
Mm.
card, then you log in with them and say, okay, so you bought this, this, and this. Now we need to pay it off. Um, just so they see kind of the consequence side of that too.
Yes,
For
So,
sure.
that's totally important.
mhm.
They need to see the consequence side, because they can rack up some bills, some
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
credit.
so easy to do. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
easy to do that if they're out there just swiping and not really paying attention. But if you taught them the paying attention part
Mhm.
along the way, then
Yes.
they're less likely to do that.
Yeah. A lot of it's just about kind of the habits, right? So, a lot of times we just get in the habit of something and we don't even realize it's a habit. So if we can teach them, that saving some of your income is a habit and then paying off the credit card
Yes,
every month is a habit, the earlier you ingrain that, the better.
That's awesome.
I totally agree.
Mhm.
So I see we here have an allowance debate. What's that all about?
Yeah, so it's been funny. So I've been fascinated with the topic of kids and money for years now, and I've read a lot of different resources on it. And the allowance piece just seems to be very contentious for some reason. So, some financial professionals say that, allowance should be tied to chores, and it should be, you do the work, you get paid, just like, we do as adults. Other people are like, nope, allowance just needs to be paid as a learning tool. So you just are paying them, and then they learn how to deal with money.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I see the merits both ways, but I
I do
feel
too.
like
Yeah.
for me personally, working is how we earn money. And so I think tying it to chores in some way makes some sense. Like maybe you
Hmm.
don't pay them for just living in the household. Like you don't pay them for making their bed or putting their laundry in the
Right.
basket. But you pay them for watering the plants or unloading the dishwasher, things like that. Um, so I think it makes sense to tie the allowance to chores, but a lot of people don't. So
I
I
definitely
think,
do.
yeah, I think it teaches I can see both sides, but I
Hmm.
do believe that it teaches them how to, if you're going to give them the allowance and follow your outline, like what you have, the outline you have given, that is going to make it more beneficial for them as they become adults. But if you just give them the allowance and just, it's no benefit really.
yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, and working is just a life skill. If they're good at working and they feel good about working, they'll probably do better in the real world than if they don't want to go to work or they don't value the work that they do, things like that. So,
Right.
Uh-huh. And it makes me think about entrepreneurship, which is it seems like as generations go on, like their thing is they want to be an entrepreneur, they want to work for themselves.
mhm.
So teaching them how to spend money and manage monies is really important then because it is like the work that you do is
Yeah.
where your income comes from. So these are just very important tools for them to learn along the way when I
Yes.
think about entrepreneurship.
And as an entrepreneur, I mean, you really have to pay attention to their money and you really have to be dedicated and disciplined when it comes to that because you don't have a consistent paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
you have
So
to be able
you
to,
have to be wise.
yep.
For
You have to
sure.
be able to manage on small amounts and make sure you're forecasting what's coming up. And yeah, there's a lot to consider for sure.
Yeah. And so that's where we're creating those teachable moments. Is that
Mhm.
would you say that in the chores and those type of things? How are we creating? How do you create teachable moments?
Yeah. So like we talked about, money is kind of intangible. It's kind of a funny thing now. And so if we can kind of create opportunities for them to, earn money, one, and spend money, two. So give them the chance to, earn the money by working, feel good about a job well done.
Mhm.
And we create that through chores and then creating the opportunities for them to spend the money. So you can take them to the store with you and say, okay, here's the snack budget, you're in charge, go buy the snacks for the week.
Hmm.
um, or letting them spend what they've saved up at the store on whatever they want. I mean, you can put some rules on it if it's like weapons or
Mhm.
something, but like letting them make some mistakes and letting them fail actually is one of the most powerful learning tools. So if they go to the store and they buy that giant monster truck and they spent all their money on it and now they have no more money for this other cool thing that comes up, and they get home and they play with it once and forget about it, they've learned a lesson that,
Like
hey,
they do.
I need to think more about what I want to buy before I do it and if I'm really going to use it. And then
That is
alternatively, if
so
they buy
true.
something that they really love and get a ton of use out of, then they've been validated, right? They said, I worked hard for this money and I saved up for this toy and I really love it. And, things are good. We like that. So that encourages them to do more of that, right? So can keep working, keep earning money, keep saving, and then you can, buy things that are special to you.
Good stuff. I was thinking about the bank account. So it's just different lessons in there. So we take them to the bank so that they, get that experience of banking. But then the part of spending, would you recommend like cash or putting a certain amount on a card, or they have a debit card or something, so that they get, both of those experiences with actually spending that money in their hand, but then also having an opportunity, because all the kids think is cool to insert that card and put in the pin. So, but also I think it's a lesson there that even though we're swiping this card, it's still coming from the same pot. So just getting that experience there.
Yeah, I would say for kind of the younger set, more, the 3 to 5s and maybe even the 6 to 10s, it's good just to have them like bring their cash with them so they see like, okay, I saved this money, I put it in this jar, and now I can take it and now I can buy things with it. It is kind of frustrating having them count it out at Target, but it's all right. It's all right. Find a patient, checkout person. But then when they get, to the older ages, I think, the kind of 11s and above, you could load it on a debit card for them, or they have a lot of kid debit cards now that are out there, or even a gift card, and let them spend it that way. So they get kind of both experiences.
Jamie, do you guys use like a checkbook register? So you're writing things down. A lot of people have gotten away from that because we can just log on and check things. Do you have the kid? Do you recommend that we teach them like writing things down and keeping track of it that way?
I think it's helpful if you're using a bank account to have them do it. So for the, the 14 to 18, for sure, if you're putting the money in there and say, okay, I deposited this amount in there on the first of the month, and then kind of, it doesn't have to be a checkbook register, but something like a spreadsheet or anything to say, okay, now make sure you're recording what you spend. That way, you know where you're at. I think that makes a lot of sense. Or you could, if they have an app or, want to log in and check it each time they make a purchase. That way they see what's happened. Just some way to track it. Yeah. You want to have that habit of let's make sure we're checking this.
You brought up app. That made me remember that you mentioned something about a allowance app.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of them out there.
Is there one in particular that you would recommend using?
I don't have a ton of experience with them yet. I've looked at like Busy Kid, and there's one called, I think, a Green Light, that seem to be good ones. My kids, they're so young still, 8 and under, that I haven't used them personally. So I don't have a lot of personal experience with them. Okay. But I think, more and more, kids are getting phones at pretty young ages. So I think having an app makes a lot of sense. That way it's, it's in front of them. It's something they can check, when they're on their phones.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. But there was one app that I talked to the developer, and he was telling me that most people pay their sons more than they pay their daughters for the same amount of chores. And I was like, oh no, the wage gap is real, you guys. Like, this is terrible.
They start early.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
I know.
That is crazy.
So yeah, all kids need to know all these concepts and should be paid fairly.
Yes. So maybe there should be a class for the parents.
Yeah.
In equity. There needs to be a class in equity for the parents.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, do you have
I have one more question. I don't remember if you covered this or not, but just kind of like teaching them need versus want. What age group would you say to introduce that?
Kind of the 6 to 10. You can talk about needs and wants. Yeah, and kind of separate that. Yeah, there's things that we need to live, but there's also all these things that we want. So how do we kind of balance that and decide where we're going to spend our money?
That's good stuff. That is good. Well, I'll tell you, these books are so fun. The kids really love them. I liked it. I read the Give, Save, and Spend book by myself, and I thought it was just a really good lesson. It was really nice, really cool. And thank you. I mean, I haven't met anybody who was so committed to teaching kids to save. We have the financial planners for the adults and young adults, but
Right.
getting those kids involved was you're the anomaly. I must say.
Well,
I
thank
was
you.
so excited about having you on. I'm like, oh yes, because I
Yeah.
know it starts so early, and I was so excited. And this message needs to get out. It needs to be shared and get out so that we can start early and change the next generation.
And close that wealth gap. We need to
Mhm.
close that wealth gap. So, Jamie, do you have any final thoughts for our audience?
Yeah, I would just say, the sooner you start with these conversations, the better. It takes a long time for habits to get ingrained. And if kids are learning good habits, sooner than they learn the bad ones, then they're going to be in a better position as adults to, be prepared for emergencies, not get stuck in crazy debt cycles with credit cards. And, they'll have a surplus of income to support, charity in their community. And that's how you want them to grow up to be.
Amen.
Yes. So
You
where
know,
can people find your books?
So all three of my books are on Amazon and Ingram Spark. So they're available online, or you can reach out to me and I'll send you one.
yeah.
And I just want to show this one again.
Money Boss Mom. So fun. And we'll leave links in the section below.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yep.
Sounds good.
Well, thank you.
All
Thanks
right.
for
Thank you,
joining us.
ladies.
All right.
Appreciate
Have
it.
a good one.
Have a
You
good
too.
one. Hey guys, and thank you once again for tuning in to Let's Talk Money.
You can find us here every Monday at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time.
Yes, so be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification so that you will be alerted every time new content is aired.
Come on, y'all. Tell your mom and them, your cousin them, all of them.
Tell them all.
Tell them to subscribe and listen to Let's Talk Money.
Yes, and be sure to leave us some comments. Chat with us. We'll be chatting live at times, so chat with us.
Hey, remember your money mindset matters.
As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he.
Peace, y'all.
Peace.